Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
I remember when I checked a year or so back on the stocks, there were two different mark rates. One was a Russian company.
I have the American company, so I didn't see the Russian one.
I was rather curious about that, but...
The Russian, good evening. The Russian one has nothing to do with the American Stock Exchange mark rate. And yes, Cash Foundation has signed a multi-million loan agreement with Mexico. And the first tranche of finance has already arrived in the accounts of Mexico. This is not to do with a global, it's a finance provided by a loan agreement between the Cash Austria or Cash Foundation and Mexico as a company, because Mexico sits within the ownership of the Mark-Ray, and now we have started financing the Mexico to come into a full operation before end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can now, because what we say about Mark-Ray affects the share value in the market, and we have to be very careful. But now the first finance as part of the loan agreement between the Cash Foundation and what we call Mark-Ray subsidiary, which is Mexico, has arrived in the bank and the operation of the loan has started. This is the way Cash Foundation loans funds to different arms of the Cash Foundation in different ways. And on success of the project, the funds are returned back to the foundation. It's a term of agreement. And yes, it's correct, because the announcement is now part of the what we call American stock market valuation, and we expect to raise this to 3 million loan agreement, which is signed between the Cash Foundation and the Mexican, what we call Cash Foundation, which is part of the subsidiary of Mark-Ray Global Cash US operation. And we have videos of the what we call product of the Cash Foundation Mexico used in public places in the past few weeks, and we'll go to a full production in the coming months. There's a big cooperation between Cash Foundation Austria, Cash Foundation as a head office of the Cash Foundation Global. Cash Foundation Global as Mark-Ray. And this week we have completed a number of collaboration agreement internally, which allows different arms of the Keshe Foundation, owned in Makre or outside, to be become active, and you'll see a lot of changes. Tehran office has now fully manned and has started to become the center of the what we call internet and cooperation of the Keshe Foundation worldwide. And we'll see the changes will move in. But we expect Mexico to return to profitability within the next 3 months. We're in a way to come into production.
It doesn't seem to make sense to ship products from China to the United States unless we couldn't make it here, or other continents that can have 2 or 3 factories that they can make and employ their own nationals. Is that the way it's going to run? Or?
We have a bigger plan and bigger structure set up for the Keshe Foundation next 12 months, which gradually, as it comes out, we'll announce. Some of you might have seen that the Keshe Foundation CO2, what we call system, has been set up as of yesterday or today, where the Keshe Foundation, you will get Jim from Australia, will call on most of the representatives of the Keshe Foundation TV. We are producing full structure CO2 worldwide through the Keshe Foundation, capture of CO2 as part of the response to global warming, to show not only we have the technology, but it's fully commercialized. And there are plans that we will do very shortly in coming time. We show the operation of the Keshe CO2, most probably in Tehran, where we expect Tehran is considered one of the most polluted cities, and we expect to show the interaction of the work of the Keshe Foundation, capture of CO2, and change of the atmosphere of Tehran in the next 2 or 3 years. It's part of the work which is gradually building up. But then it'll be used through the Keshe Foundation Mexico and the rest of it.
You had indicated if this technology was discovered in America, that they'd win 10 Nobel Prizes, but because the inventor or
we have walked away from the idea of trying to do. You will see, we tried not to talk much, but Keshe Foundation has moved totally in a very positive way. As I said, the management of the Keshe Foundation now is in the hand of the 2 ladies, and they are striving to do their own way, their own work. Some of you, if you've seen the speed of delivery in the Keshe Foundation, sales has changed, and you have seen even the presentation, the packaging has got upgraded and will be upgraded further. We have hardly any known backlog of the stock, except those who are what we call time consuming for production. All are on the move. We launched this week the glasses, which has been a success. We have a target of so many to be put into the market. Some people tell us it's very expensive. Research and development is expensive, and it costs a lot of money. At the moment, the running cost of the Keshe Foundation worldwide runs to a couple of million a year. And it's not easy to roll out 100,000, 150,000 every month. I've done this for nearly 15 years in different shape, even bigger now. We have to bring the foundation back into operational profitability through its, what we call technologies. It's even the websites, you just talk in these chats, which belongs to Keshe Foundation, talk each costs nearly 10,000 a month. Just running the network, I'm expecting it to with a TV now to rise to about 20, 25,000 a month. All these Zooms you are using, all is paid for. All the traffics you're storing TV programs on and everything else runs. The Keshe Foundation running cost runs on about 100,000 plus a month at the moment. It's not cheap. And we are meeting it month in, month out, and we develop it, technology development and everything else. Now we see the turning point. The Keshe Foundation has to come into standing on its own and its own profitability. The Keshe Foundation China now has been handed over fully by the Chinese government to the Keshe Foundation, which now runs under 5 different companies. The same is with other parts of the Keshe Foundation operation. We run it. It looks easy. It looks going very smooth, but it's a mammoth task. It is a try to keep everything ticking. At the same time, letting it grow and establish has not been easy. But now we turned since, as I said, in the past few months, when there is no more damage internally, the Keshe Foundation is growing rapidly. And I'm sure before end of this week or in the next couple of weeks, you hear a massive move on the Keshe Foundation. We have broken through in a huge way. We've been told we are waiting for it to arrive to us in different directions. But as we said, we took a month in dealing of the problems of the Keshe TV. Now Keshe TV started loading up exactly from 21st. It took a month for everybody from the time we opened up to go live. Now they start loading the programs up. And from now on, we see a lot of changes. From Wednesday, Keshe Foundation books will be launched internationally in Amazon with high visibility across the world. So you will see all the books with major, what we call publication corporations around the world. Starting with book 1 on Wednesday, and every 3 weeks, a new books of the Keshe Foundation will be published around the world, even in the bookshops. These all have taken a lot of time to set up, to establish, and now we are very much on track, and we'll see where we go. I heard in part of the teaching you were talking about the cups. Those of you who have received the cups, you received the instruction within your packaging. Follow the instruction exactly. And if you have produced CH3s at home, try to use the CH3 in conjunction with your cup, with the amino acid of CH3, like 30 ml 3 times a day with a cup. Wash your kidneys and the inhaling. You will see the use and effectiveness of the cups which they are. And some of you might have received 4 or 5 items. One of them might have been broken. These are handcrafts and handmade units. We expect some losses. Return them to us or inform us, we replace it. But this is the beauty of when you do what we call artisan work. Now we start bringing the soap, as you've seen, handmade, the cups handmade, and more or less you see more artisan works around the Keshe Foundation by individuals around the world as they produce it. We're looking for more people who produce products that we can support, but we try to do it through the Keshe Foundation in a very, very, very different way. And in respect to the pens, the new pens are totally different than the old pens. The new, what we call the paint pens. Please use them. You can use the pens in the multiple use, but we advise, if possible, do not share the cups. In pens you can share. With the new pens there is not much problem in sharing because it's a totally different technology. The new pens of the Keshe Foundation are totally different than what your normal pens are. And even if you break into it, you will not see it. We have developed a lot of advanced technologies which we have hidden within the structure of our work. This is one of the ways I said that nobody will be able to duplicate or replicate the work of the Keshe Foundation. We have become very clever, and it's very easy. If anybody claims it, you send us back to us, somebody claiming to be, immediately we can analyze and tell you yes or no.
So the technology is totally different. Where I was thinking of the patches where you make one patch stronger and the other weaker, now you're saying to take two paint pens, and I'm thinking in the old way of how could one be stronger and one be weaker? But it's
No,
totally
it's a
new.
different technology,
Yeah.
totally different technology.
Okay.
We have produced new materials that we don't go public with anymore. We have produced new ganses which we don't go public anymore. Because we realize when we go public, people try to cheat and they say they do such a thing, but they cannot actually produce the process. You got to understand the Keshe Foundation GANs production. We have experts within the foundation. I know somebody went out and said there are so many people work there and whatever, trying to discredit. As we see, this has been the job of the Belgians they've done for a long time. But the Keshe Foundation has expert people which produce a specific ganses that is not in public. We never taught it, we don't teach it because it has different application for us. And in all our new products, even the enhancement units, these new technologies have been implemented. And this allows us to work in a very, very different, effective way. And in the coming time, we'll start releasing new technologies, but profound ones. Enhancement units now have been ordered, they've gone into production. The vertical enhancement units have gone into production, has started last week. And the enhancement units follows the same way. And we'll see as a very big changes in technology. And I'm sure this is again interim because in the research centers, they have to understand what they are doing and how they're developing the technology, and we're reaching that point. Now we're training a specialist to do the specialist job. I'm sure in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you will see the very fast farming units of the Keshe Foundation, which is installed in the farm organizations, in the farmhouse. It's a huge work for the foundation. Those of you who are connected to farming, you will see the videos of it. We have gone into a larger scale farming. Then the farmer who has received the first what we call systems within the first week has confirmed the beauty of the work and how much is seen changes in its what we call in the farm. And now we install in farms a full farming systems at a cost of €100,000 per farm, and the farmers see the results more or less immediately. And this is part of our work, the same in our researches in other parts of the world. We're taking the Keshe Foundation in two different parts. The what we call low level, what you see, the cups and the pans, and the high level, what we call industrial operation. There are massive moves in setting up the factories the same. In the coming weeks, you will see more and more of the what we call commercial application of the Keshe Foundation in different ways.
Mr. Keshe, will we see more building of nuclear plants in Connecticut? We used to have a company called Combustion Engineering, and they used to provide nuclear plants, I believe, and services to the nuclear industry. I know we have 100 plants. Would that be enough to do what's needed to be done, or would we still be building more? And I know we don't want to stop at energy production at all, but, or would this be more sort of university size operations?
First of all, nuclear reactors, the way they are, the way we used to build them, are highly inefficient. They're highly inefficient. It's one of the biggest problems with them. Secondly, the new type of nuclear reactors. I have a friend who now is part of the South American nuclear industry. He used to be in the what we call Iran first generation of nuclear reactors design. He is part of the IEA. He used to be part of the IEA inspection, and now he's gone into development of the small reactors. The belief in the what we call the old nuclear physicists is that we are going to go to very much nuclear plasma technology than the nuclear as a nuclear material. And we see that as a next step. Those large scale nuclear power stations are not efficient. And we see the inherent problem with what we see with Fukushima, we saw with 3 Mile Island, we saw with Chernobyl. Now, what is hidden from a lot of in the United States is the decommissioning of the old nuclear reactor will cost up to 20 times more than building them. And it will be unsustainable. And so the new style of nuclear reactors will be totally plasma nuclear reactors. I will see them on every corner, very much like substations. This is the maybe 5 or 10 years from now. We don't need to carry huge amount of nuclear material to create conditions for production. We'll start teaching these in Tehran very soon. The next generation of the what we call plasma nuclear reactors will come out of a different understanding in nuclear technology.
Mr. Keshe, you mentioned South American engineers or whatever, the technology building these reactors. Where is this in Brazil or where is it?
keep quiet on that one.
Thank you.
It's a new way, even that is already financed partially by IEA for development. But this already passed and some was past its position. But now we are moving, the nuclear industry will move into the plasma technology of the energy production, because we don't need to create these huge, unbelievable technologies. They were looking for fusion. So we see a new cycle, new style of nuclear reactors, but they'll be designed. We release the design most probably on my return to Iraq.
The design, I imagine, it's more based on the Maggrav principle and not on the boiler principle.
You cannot peel my tongue. It's new evolution in science, totally new evolution in science.
Mr. Cash, isn't there something that you can use in the GANS line for your allergies?
I can handle it with my technology, but I prefer not to.
Is there a reason for that?
It's partially emotional, yes.
I see. Thank you.
Somebody told me, you have all the knowledge, why don't you use this and this? I have all the knowledge, I can do things, but on the hand, I'm very lazy to use my own technology unless I need to. But the hay fever I suffer every spring is emotional, and it just, you can control it, but there's no use to do it. When I go back to certain positions, I don't suffer. Where you're not in position, you do. But what they call is part of a steaming off, in a way.
Does it equate to stress?
Dissatisfaction.
Oh, okay.
You're very much active in the research and development of technologies, and that is the best part. It's, as I said, finding breakthrough technologies. It needs to be backed by nations and governments, and we have found two nations which start supporting the Keshe Foundation relentlessly. And in the next few weeks, you will understand. We have come out of what the Western Europe was hoping to keep the Keshe Foundation obscure till they can steal the technologies, they call it. Now we receive a huge backing by 2 nations in Asia, which rapidly are supporting us to come up. And that reflects on our work in the coming time.
I have a
Can I
question
make-
about butterflies.
Yeah.
Are they sufficient to neutralize, like if you have a 5G or 4G thing on the corner beaming at people's homes?
These are specifically designed for that kind of purposes.
Okay, not just for the small things like the computers and the phones we use, but we can use it, like maybe put them in between?
There are 3 different sizes. The largest size is for environment. There is a smaller medium. You can see it very prominently, the work of it, you will understand. If you have this self-charging system that you put your mobile phone on a charger, then plug it in, If you put one of these in between, you will see you will not be able to charge. Is that effective?
Wonderful.
Because we have tested it. If you use a telephone butterfly, which these are, as I told you, these are hidden technologies. Doesn't matter how you open it, whatever you do with it, you will not see it. If you received it, just look at the packaging. We're not selling you a wire. If you look at the packaging, you see a white color material inside it. It's not it's not in public. We don't release it in public. These are innovations from the Keshe Foundation. We have seen a lot of people trying even to copy. They don't understand. This material which we have developed, if you look at the packaging you received, it is to handle these kind of residual fields and in a way intensify other fields. And the easiest way, as I said, is when you get these new what we call desktop butterflies, just put it on the back of your phone and put it on a charger, see if your phone charges. You absorb all fields.
Yeah, another question, like in our situation here, we have one of those massive towers within 1/8 of a mile from 3 schools. Should we put some at each school?
At the moment, this is what we have developed in a way for what we call the homes. We have not tested in that range. In a short while, Keshe Foundation will release technologies which can absorb surplus fields and convert them into energy. But we are in what we call trial stage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, another question. What would be more helpful? Like you have said, you encourage people to donate, but when someone only has so much money, would it be better just to buy things or to donate it?
Either way, it goes to the same place. We don't waste a penny in the Keshe Foundation.
Okay.
If you donate, it goes to the same use and purpose. And if you buy, we still have a fraction of what it is, because the rest goes in production. If you make a donation, it's better to make directly to the Keshe Foundation Holland. And if you, what you call, purchase, you go through the new company, you will receive in next 7 days, 14 days. That, as I said, as part of the development, Keshe Foundation is Austria now is divided into 3 companies. Keshe Foundation Austria is a holding company of all the international companies of the Keshe Foundation worldwide who are affiliated to it. You will see Keshe Foundation sale, which takes totally the side of the retails. Any retails will go, you will see the change of the name maybe next week, 10 days. And we have the Keshe Foundation TV. We received the materials for it to be completing registration this week. So when you donate directly to the foundation, through the bank account of the foundation. If you purchase through the, what we call the donation button, still goes to Keshe Foundation Austria. And then you'll have a connection button to the Keshe Foundation sale as a company.
And is the Keshe coin still something to consider?
Yes, we have a very large interest in it by international organizations. There is as I said, it's part of the work we are doing. Keshe coins has been accepted by European Central Bank as a valid coin within the structure of the Keshe Foundation and been allowed to operate. Our bankers have been informed by the central bank that they've been authorized for it to be able to operational. And as part of the same structure, what we call the companies who are working for coins, or what is fashionable now, are looking into Keshe Foundation for purchase of the large coins, large amount of coins as an investment. You're talking in a very large scale. The companies are working on it in the background, but we don't announce these things. Part of the work of the Keshe Foundation. You got to realize the 3% interest now. If you have over 150,000 in most of the banks around the world, they charge you between 0.5% to 1% charges, which means every year out of the 100,000, you give 100,000 to the bank. Keshe Foundation now gives 3% interest on the funds for investment as we accept. So it's become very viable, interesting propositions for hedge funds for a guaranteed payment.
And the coin is still only exchangeable for products, or is it?
We
how
can
does
exchange it, we can donate it. Some people buy it as a donation and donate it to the foundation. And some people, you hold it. There are many people who bought it and you hold it. Keep your receipt, because it's very much like the, what do you call, Bitcoin. It's traceable, and in the coming time with the programs in Iran becomes evident list of the people who own it, and it'll be kept, it can be traced. It has become a very viable proposition at the moment for companies who are holding huge amount of finances. If you hold 1 million in a bank, even trading now, if you're a company, they charge you $10,000 per year just for you, because you're trading and you have over $150,000 in your account. And it's easier because we hold the finances the same, 1,000 worth 1,000 plus 3%. The institutions have to start looking into the Keshe Foundation, and hedge funds are, we're talking to a number of them that they want to invest, but we have to accept the investment, because it's no use taking the money if we don't invest it, that we can return at 3%. And some of them are happy to be there without the interest pay. As long as he holds, they don't have to pay 10,000. The negative equity will must raise up to 3,000, expecting the next 2 years. The banks will charge you 2 to 3% to hold your money or your transaction in it.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Keshe.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. A question about the vertical enhancement units.
Yep.
Coming out of Austria. Will they have to go through Iran also before shipping?
Go what?
The vertical enhancement units.
Yeah.
Will they have to be sent through Iran?
No. The enhancement unit, the vertical enhancement units are totally Austrian-based production. We don't even rely on China for it. The horizontal ones, the body has to be produced in China, then shipped to Austria to fit. But we are considering with the new opportunity that we have taken over a 17,000 square meter factory space in China to centralize the production of enhancement units all together in China. This is a possibility in the next 6 weeks. We don't need to ship all the way the bodies into Europe and then assemble in Europe with the systems. We produce the systems in Austria, we ship to China, and the bodies and the whole thing will be assembled in the new factory. This gives us a possibility to load up to 100 units a month.
So when do you think we'll start seeing the first vertical units show up?
It will be shown in Tehran for the first time in the next 3 to 6 weeks, 6 weeks maximum. We have ordered all the component because of the development. They have a lot of advanced technology in it. And hopefully 6 weeks time, we will see the first enhancement units in Tehran. And then from Tehran, you'll be the first one who will receive the first ones. That's for sure. It's a political move more than anything else, as you understand.
Yeah.
The development is part of the negotiations we have, and you will hear soon about our work. The enhancement units through the new structure will be shown in Tehran first, and then Arizona receives it immediately after.
The vertical enhancement unit, does that also require an MD?
Yes.
Can it be somebody, a health professional that's not MD, but something different?
We prefer to, we had a problem for some time to set up the medical backup support of the enhancement units altogether. And now that backup system setup has been set in the office in Tehran. They start the basic programs for it. It will come up very soon in the next 3 months or so, that they start writing the programs completed that we can monitor every patient around the world. And yes, you need a medical doctor. And we only deliver into Keshe Foundation centers or medical doctor centers. If doctors buy it on their own, we deliver to their, we don't deliver it to a household, to individuals. It has to be a medical person as a center. They are beautiful. The new vertical enhancement units are amazing. We have changed the shape slightly because of the what we call the advancement in technology. If I can use, can somebody, let me see if I can do it myself. Can you give me a whiteboard, please? Someone? The new and the advanced enhancement units are shaped like this. If I can draw it in an easy way, where now you go in the center. Before the other, somebody cleaned it out. The new enhancement unit has a shape like this, where the person literally goes inside the center. I don't know why the picture disappears. Does anybody know why the picture disappears?
Mark, do you want to take over the?
I gave him a whiteboard off of, this is the first time I gave anybody a whiteboard. I'm seeing it. I shared the screen.
Oh, I see. I'm gonna pull out.
Okay. Do you have the whiteboard, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, do you see what I'm drawing?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
I keep on drawing and it disappears because I'm not on my usual board.
I see yellow and red.
Yeah, but the other half of it is gone.
Oh, I don't know.
Here
Anyway,
we
it
only,
is. Pardon?
here we only see in red. It would be like a bathtub.
Yeah, but it's in two halves. Anyway, it is, if you see it, I don't know, it's something you might, somebody else must have shared a whiteboard.
Okay, I'll,
If you wipe it out and restart it again, because it's half the screen whiteboard.
okay, here's Dan.
Yeah, this
Here's
this-
Dan. Okay.
this is better Thank you very much. You see, the new enhancement units will has a shape like this, where the two sides come together when it closes as one circle, and the person is in the center. Before, the enhancement units used to be two flat screen, as you've seen it. Now it has changed, and it's much more powerful. And in about maybe 2 to 3 months, we launched the first transmutation transportation units. We announced it in time, where if you look at it, you will be entering, it's very much like the vertical enhancement units, where you enter the system and literally we can transmute you whatever the object from this to another system anywhere in the world. This system now, basic of it is under the testing and construction. We can take you from one position into the other. The system is in development design, so we will show the first transmutation body or object very soon. We are fine-tuning the transportation. It's very much, it'll be very much like what we call the enhancement units, vertical, but it'll be a transportation unit. We show this one most probably completed in Tehran in the next 3 months. New communication systems will be released, and the same.
Can I make a question, Mr. Cash?
Yes.
I have almost every night, I have teachings during my sleeping. And I'm not here to discuss my dream, okay? My teachings while I'm dreaming.
Who's speaking, please?
Danilo from Brazil.
Yes.
And I'm not here to discuss about my dream, but about the information that you gave me on my last teaching during my dream, okay? You told me, I'm just checking if it's true and if it's make any sense, okay? And you told me that you don't need necessarily understand physically something to take benefit at the soul level. And I'm just checking if it make any sense.
This is what we always say so.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the teaching of last Thursday, very, very gently, we are opening the door into another dimension of teaching and understanding. In a way, we are introducing a new knowledge, which is very subtly brought in. It's the first times we are talking about hormones of the physicality and the hormones of the soul. Is a very subtle way to bring the understanding of you don't need the dimension of physicality where the dimension of the soul has the same operation. And that's what it means. You don't need to hear with the eye and what they call the ear of the man and see with the eye of the man. You have the same possibilities in a different dimension. You got to realize if I'm trying to put it in a very subtle way. If you have an emotion of happiness, which comes from the interaction of the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality, so there must be the same kind of emotion within the soul of the man that he has a parallel in the physicality, that between the two they can understand each other. They can create a physical emotion. And why it happens in a specific position in the brain of the man. We go in much deeper sense in this Thursday teaching about this. No one ever has spoken about the hormones of the soul. In a way, we call it hormone, we call it lower level fields which the soul interacts with the world of physicality. Energy packs. And these energy packs will go back, if you notice, like this week, we gone directly into the dimension of the brain of the man. For the position of the soul. In the next few weeks, we play a lot in the knowledge with the brain of the man and the physicality of the man. Because if you're talking about the soul, you have to concentrate on his home, not in respect to the others. If we talk about the mass, we have to speak about what is the masses, not how it shows itself in respect to another Maghreb system, which we call it the weight. And this is what the teachings are gradually for man to understand the operation of his soul. And if you don't need the ear and the nose and God knows eyes to smell and taste and know what is happening outside your physical boundary or inside your physical boundary.
Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Mr. Cash, can I ask a question? Something strange happened today. I came to the teaching, and then in the middle of it, I fell asleep. And then Mark was talking, asking me, Azar, can you talk? And I was completely asleep, but I could hear Mark, and I was telling Mark, I can't talk. I can't open my mouth. And I was trying to open my mouth and I was trying to talk to him. And I even see my husband was sitting there, and I was trying to tell my husband to somehow let me open my mouth, and I want to talk to Mark. And all this was happening while I was asleep. Then when I woke up, I thought he was doing. Then I opened my microphone and asked Mark, did you ask if Azar, if you want to talk about something? Then Mark said yes. So the whole thing was happening, and then that was my soul. It wasn't a dream. My soul was hearing the whole thing, but I was completely asleep.
I was wondering why you stayed silent. Now we know you fell asleep.
I fell asleep, Mr. Cash. I was completely asleep, and I was hearing the whole thing. But
we keep you asleep all the time, was that?
It was Mr. Cash, but you know, the soul, my soul, actually it was my soul. My soul actually, that funny part of me, actually. The character is like that.
We got a problem, haven't we?
It's very, actually, I like that soul because it was very innocent. It was very, very, I don't know, it was so funny. I just liked it. It's not my personality. It's totally different.
I don't know what to say. You
But
have
Mr.
to explain to us.
but-
You went through it.
But Mr. Gash, it wasn't a dream. So it means the soul was trying to talk, but it has no mouth. I had to wake up because it was hearing everything.
I don't know. You've been there. Our people tell me these things and I never interfere because you've been there, not us. But I was wondering how you're keeping quiet because you fell asleep. That's nice to know.
But Mr. Gash, that was the first time I fell asleep because I'm usually not quiet.
I have a question. If there's tens of millions or hundreds of millions of knowledge seekers in the world, there must be tens of thousands or a million scientists around the world who are talking in the background, who are whispering to each other, who are saying, you know, I'm really not helping humanity in my current position. I'd like to help humanity with my scientific skills and so on. But it's not safe for them to come out right now. Would you give them a short message of some hope that they will be able to participate in the near future in this greatest of all endeavors on this planet?
The people will find, you will see that the scientists around the world will start looking into the next step of development. And in a way, as we are all the same knowledge, we carry the same knowledge. As we become the passenger of the space, we have to carry the same knowledge. We all learn to go to the level of the soul, where the knowledge of the man and the universe sits in. It's not a hidden knowledge, it's just that we have decided to hide ourselves from it. We will see, as I said, when you have universities and large-scale institutes back you with research, development, and data, it will change the position. And now Keshe Foundation has run into that structure. We are waiting. We already received the verbal words for it. We are waiting to see it in written form in the coming days. That will bring the Keshe Foundation in a totally different light internationally. And we'll find out that when we teach and we can show, and then the whole knowledge will go. People will go, this is when you say the scientists, this is why we start introducing the what I call the hormones of the soul of the man. You cannot be the sun and just radiate and hope something will happen when you interact with something. As the soul of the man is what I call an educated soul with interaction capabilities up to control of itself. This opens a new dimension to a lot of us. And we are bringing that knowledge to man. That as a science, we all have access. In a physical world, we have access to what we study, what we've been told. In the dimension of the soul, there is nothing hidden. We all carry the totality of the knowledge. So we are all scientists. We are all plumbers, and we are all doctors, and we are all a medicine man and everything else. And that's what I said, and I repeat again and again. from 21st of March, especially 21st of April, last week and this week, we start teaching about the construction and the soul, what we call the field of the creation. And you will understand more and more how we deep go inside. We don't consider liver and kidney and other parts. The total teaching will go how you interact with the emotion of the soul, how we know it, how we see it. And then gradually, one by one, people will come to test and show, and gradually it'll take over, and that's it. Then you've seen it very directly. We have gone into that direction in the teachings. How does your soul interacts with your emotion and with your soul of physicality, and why you have certain emotions, certain places in your brain. And it's strange enough, all of us, more or less, have the same position for the same emotion roughly. This is what we say, the speech area of the brain. This is the whatever else of the brain. If we are not, if our soul has not created us in that dimension, direction, how can we all have the same environment, the same area for the same operation, emotion and physical control? There's more to brain than what we see. And it's all to do with the soul. And so we open that door gradually in the teachings. What we were afraid of, the soul of the man, now we realize is a good partner, has been with us all the time. Gradually, over the teachings next few weeks. I wonder how many of you would like to travel with UFOs and go and see the universe. I think maybe zero. Or if you like to be a time waster, no problem.
Mr. Kesh, is Salomea from Romania. Our soul of man is a black hole, and we can travel with a black hole.
I'm not going in there. You love black hole. I don't understand what the way you're going there. Our soul is not a black hole.
It's not a black hole. It's
No.
only like a sun.
It is a sun.
But a black hole has a sun inside.
Yes, so you decide, you talk about the jacket or talk about the man inside the jacket, which is more important.
Yes. That's why, because some scientific, they don't believe that we have sun inside. And this is very stupid.
Put it this way, no,
Yeah.
I'll sum it up in one way. Scientifically, they hung the guy who said the Earth is not the center of the universe, so we leave the scientists out of it.
Of course, yeah. We know that everything has a sun inside, even an atom and
Do you know something?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I talk about something else? This
Yes.
is something, especially to Stefania and the Italian group here. It's a very strange why the first enhancement unit is going to be built around Pisa. It's ironic. Those of you who are Italian and you understand what is in Pisa. If you've been to Pisa and you've been to the church. Stefania, are you there? Or any of the Italian community? I think they're all asleep. If I'm correct, you can check. In Pisa, where you go to see the Tower of Pisa, not very far from it, if I'm correct, there is a church where they hung the man who said the Earth is not the center of the universe. And now the technology of the universe going to Pisa first. So which one do we believe?
Mr. Kesh, do you have some links with Romanian nuclear physicist?
No, but that is in the hand of the Romanian, what do you call, team that they do their work.
Yes, I ask you because it was much easier. I called one of the professor, which was a director of the most powerful laser from Europe and from the world, and he was dismissed. And he was so sad. He didn't want to talk too much. But I will try again. But I know his students, which are now they work in Italy, and he was a good friend with me because during my study, I was staying with many nuclear physicists in the hostel. I mean, they were PhD students, and I was not involved on this study, but we were colleagues. And I just sent a message, and I hope he works on light, studies the light. I will try to make contact.
These things you have to speak, especially in Romania, with the Romanian Keshe Foundation, because there is a research group in there, and now they have become, especially with
Dragoș, I know.
With and other members of the Keshe Foundation in Romania. We are treating Romania in a different way. You have a very large scientific group, active group, and we try to keep Romania in that category especially. They have started a new wave, especially like with the Italians, and these things has to be discussed inside. Otherwise, everybody does everything else, and that's taken us a long time to centralize everything. If you have contact with scientists and these things, go back to the community setup, especially into the broadcasting side, and it's for them to organize it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Try to work with your organizations. Otherwise, too many people know, too many people heard about too many people, and waste many times to do too many things. In Romania, you have a well-structured research group. We know them, and as we announced for the first time in public, now we are more comfortable to do it. The first international conference of the Keshe Foundation after Corona will be held in Romania in July.
Yes, I know.
Yes, the first time. Yes, yeah. Please keep quiet, please.
Yes, yes.
In the first international conference, somewhere in the back end of July, will be held in Romania, and the Romanian team. We asked them to keep quiet for it till we go public.
Yeah.
Now we can announce it publicly that it'll be a scientific conference, and it's now in the hand of the Romanian team to organize the arrangement for it to be somewhere around 20th of the July. And we know the Romanian community is very large in that sense, and we try to cover technological aspects of the Keshe Foundation in this one-day conference. It's not a meeting for. It's not a meeting for. And the normal way is a scientific conference, and most probably it'll be part of the collaboration with the universities, and by that time the structure set up by the university in Iran. It's to contact the Romanian team for the organization. Any other question?
Can you enlighten me about the link between laser and plasma to maybe this way I can convince some scientists to to give an interview.
Do you understand what the laser is?
I study about laser, but I am not a scientist.
Yeah, but what do you understand as a laser?
Yes, the laser, it's emission of light, but accumulation of light by a crystal. And crystal can be different. For example, in Magurele, we have a quartz.
Yes, but can I ask you, Mark, if you can go? Rick is not there. Rick is usually good at these things. Is Rick in the background?
No, I don't think he's here.
He's not here tonight. Can you go into the Wikipedia if you can know how to bring it up and tell us what the laser is considered as?
Okay, just give me a moment.
Then we speak with the world of science.
And the plasmoid can be I don't know. I have to read. It's better. Don't improvise. Because if we have in common something, it's much easier.
Have you managed to get there?
No, I spelled it L-A-S-E-R. It's L-A-C-E-R. Okay, here we go.
No, Mark, it is LASER.
It
I
is.
put the link in the chat if you want to find it.
Okay, here we go. Let's just see. I'm looking for it. Ed, if you, okay, here it is. Let me move the screen over. Here we are. Let me share the screen. Okay.
You're as good as Rick now.
Not quite.
Can you read it? What is a laser? What do we understand as laser?
A laser is a device that emits light through a process of optical amplification based on the stimulated emissions of electromagnetic radiation. The term laser originated as an acronym for light amplification by stimulated emissions of radiation. The first laser was built in 1960 by Theodore H. Maiman at Hughes Research Laboratory, based on theoretical work by Charles Hard Towns and Arthur Leonard Schauffele. A laser differs from other sources of light in that it emits light, which is coherent. Spatial coherence allows a laser to be focused to a tight spot, enabling applications such as laser cutting and lithography. Spatial coherence also allows a laser beam to stay narrow over great distances, collimation, enabling applications such as laser pointers and LiDAR, which is a type of radar. Lasers can also have high temporal coherence, which allows them to emit light with a very narrow spectrum, i.e., example, they can emit a single color of light. Alternatively, temporal coherence can be used to produce pulses of light with a broad spectrum, but durations as short as a femtosecond, ultra short pulses. Lasers are used in optical disk drives, laser printers, barcode scanners, DNA sequencing instruments, fiber optics, semiconducting chip manufacturing, photolithography, and free space optical communication, laser surgery and skin treatments, cutting and welding materials, military and law enforcement devices for making targets and measuring range and speed, and in laser light displays for entertainment. They have been used for car headlamps on luxury cars by using a blue laser and a phosphor to produce highly directional white light. Lasers are distinguished from other light sources by their coherence. Spatial coherence is typically expressed through the output being a narrow beam, which is diffraction limited. Laser beams can be focused to very tiny spots, achieving a very high irradiance, or they can have very low divergence in order to concentrate their power at a great distance. Temporal or longitudinal coherence implies a polarized wave at a single frequency, whose phase is correlated over a relatively great distance, the coherence length along the beam. A beam produced by a thermal or other incoherent light source has an instantaneous amplitude and phase that vary randomly with respect to time and position, thus having a short coherent length. Lasers are characterized according to their wavelength in a vacuum. Most single wavelength lasers actually produce radiation in several modes with slightly different wavelengths. Although temporal coherence implies monochromaticity, there are lasers that emit a broad spectrum of light or emit different wavelengths of light simultaneously. Some lasers are not single spatial mode and have light beams that diverge more than is required by the diffraction limit. All such devices are classified as lasers based on their method of producing light. Stimulated emissions. Lasers are employed where light of the required spatial or temporal coherence cannot be produced using simpler techniques.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Now, tell me what you understand from laser.
Me?
No, Salamir. She asked the question.
Yes.
So what do you understand from laser? What do you mean? If you want to repeat your question.
Yes, I think that the common things between a laser and our plasma is a light, emission of light. No,
Our plasma, no. Let me correct
yes.
you, or maybe my way of understanding of a laser
Yes.
in the world of in world of my physics.
Of course.
What we call a laser in a present time primarily is monoenergetic. And this is why we use optical tools to concentrate the strength of and deflect or reflect of it. In a plasma technology, we have a plasma lasers, which are highly effective. And we cannot use prisms or any kind of thing to deflect it. The only thing which can accumulate plasma lasers or in a way diverge them is different spectrum of magnetic fields. This goes against the present law of physics, which we say you cannot bend magnetic fields or the light, where you actually can use laser plasma to do so. And most of the what is hypocrisy in the world of present science, that they say you cannot bend the light, and then they used to show it. I always said to my professors a simple thing, that this theory about you cannot, break the light or bend the light is so ridiculous, because if we could not, somebody's microphone is open. Can you close it, please? Can you close Salamia's microphone, please? Somebody's too much choice. The fact is, if we could not bend the light, it means all the fields from the center of the universe would have gone only in one direction. And there would have been no divergence in the light or magnetic field. So lights do bend. Lights, I have devised a technology, you can bend the light 180 degrees, send it back the way it comes, through plasma, by bending it. So the theory is that the light can be bent, and the plasma monoenergetic, what we call laser, in principle, we have laser plasmas, where interesting in the reading, it tells you laser plasmas can be used for creation of nuclear radiation. And this is the secret of the creation. In the future, we'll come to it. The technology is not there to produce plasmatic fields, radiation, and maybe in the next 3 or 4 weeks we teach it as we share the nuclear knowledge with the government. It's part of the defense technology. This was a dream of President Reagan when he created the Star Wars game he was talking about. Now we have the technology and we can do it, physically develop it to deliver it.
That was someone I was involved in. Mr. LaRouche had proposed that to the Reagan administration as a strategic defense initiative to basically be able to shoot down each other's missiles, so there would be no need for war.
The plasma laser zero-time communication and transportation is part of it. Because when we speak about the plasma, we speak about an environment. When we speak about the laser beam, is a singularity of a strength. In a deep space travel, we can designate the field and the strength and position to arrive at, or we can target to arrive at, and targeting comes through the laser plasma technology. Which means we create the tunnel and we move within that tunnel.
And one of the reasons it didn't go through is because the Russians felt that the American economy would benefit more because it was a more advanced economy. So the spin-offs would leapfrog America ahead of them. And that's one of the reasons I understand it did not go through, the Strategic Defense Initiative.
To go from one, at the moment, one bandwidth down, which is a narrower laser beam, we call it. Just to go down, if you remember, we have a big, what do you call it, CD-ROMs, if you remember, to go, and then we came down to the small one. for the same or bigger capacity. To go from just one beam down, which is the blue, the last weeks of Clinton administration, he signed off a $6 billion research to go to blue line. Just to move one color down, it costs billions. And one of the reasons we don't see much advancement in a way in compression in so many ways on disks is this, because they are trying to go one lower color, which means a smaller, narrower beam. And we haven't managed to get that. And the finances made for the blue line has not been recuperated yet.
So, Mr. Kesh, we can create laser by plasma laser.
This is exactly what I said.
Yes, just to make a
Well,
conclusion to remember. For me, it was, yeah.
But you have to understand how you make the plasma to make it to a laser. It's a different technology. Not the lasers we use now as cutting, but the plasma laser is totally different understanding. You have to open the sphere of the plasma into a light, which itself is a technique. In a way, you open a GANs into the light of itself to transport it.
Mr. Cash, can I ask a very basic question about light? What you just said prompted my mind to a question I've had for a long time about light. In my understanding, light is a plasma that has decided to go somewhere, for lack of better words. And is it a a specific magnetic gravitational field that matches this configuration of the plasma that prompts it to turn into a light that travels somewhere?
In a way, what triggers it is finding lower matching field strength as a plasma.
So that it, okay.
That it can travel to.
So it's the stronger traveling to the weaker.
In a way, yes.
Okay. So in more of a personal sense, when a person gets to a certain level in his soul, or his, maybe even his soul of physicality, of desiring or needing or humility or whatever, it will become a matching source to a higher strength plasma that will come to him and communicate with him.
I explained this in a different way. Maybe you understand it. Maybe it'll be much easier to comprehend. We all look into the sky. And we all see the same stars. We see the same galaxies. We see the same brightness in the sky. And we say, look, can you see that the star? Or can you see the other star? Or can you see that collection of lights and the stars? But no one asks themselves one question. How come we're all different, but we all see the same lights? How come that all of us, as humans or animals on this planet, have the capability to make a line of connection between us and every single one of these lights in the sky? If you been in, it's a very, we used to be in the places like Madame Tussauds in London, and some other places you can go into these auditoriums which they create the lights and they show the galaxies and all sorts of combinations of things in the ceiling. We see these as created for us to see. And how come all of us go in the same dome of this planet, stop going into a theater, and we all can see the same stars? And possibly on the other side, if somebody is in one of the stars looking up to the sky, would the person see the sun, or would it see the earth? Would they be looking at us as we are looking at them? Do they see our star, or do they see the planet Earth? And if they do, how come that all of us within the universe can see each other? Then what have we missed in the sense of knowledge? We can see all of us on this planet, all the stars in the universe, and on the other side of the equation, somebody on its planet or in its whatever position sees everything we see. All the stars, same position in respect to their position. What's the reason for this? How is it possible? What's the reason that understanding that the higher order fields feeds the lower? If we are lower, that we receive the light from them, that we can see them. What is stronger from us that they're lower, from us that they see us? Do they see us as a weaker part? Or do they see us as a sun, that we are part of it? But in essence, what is in the vision of all of us, that we see all these stars and we all see them in the same position. Nowadays we buy a program on our Apple phone or whatever, and we hold it to the sky, say, oh, this is Jupiter, this is that galaxy, this is there, over there. But the big question to ask is, how come we all see them, and how come they all see us? If it's the principle of the light from them has to be stronger, that travel towards us, that we see them, and something from us has to be stronger, that they have a weaker point, that they see us.
something to do with our soul. So I jumped in.
Do we
Or
have
are,
same, do we
sorry.
have same position in respect to our souls with the other souls? When we get to see now we see with our eyes all these stars. What happens when we start observing things in the eye of the soul of the man, the point of observation of the soul of the man? Would we see, instead of the lights in the sky, we see the soul of the suns, and we see the soul of the others who have a soul and exist? Would we see a different dimension than what we see with the eye of the man? Or still, from the soul point of view, we still see the same color, the same sky, the same stars?
Are we mirror for each other?
Are we humble enough to receive, and we are glorious and generous to give, to be received? But the point is that if so many of us receiving so many lights, so many energies from these stars, and they can see us, that we can feed them with our energy, that they know we exist here, then there is a very big question mark in the whole process of the creation. A very big question. And would we see the same when we get to know our soul? Would we see the soul of these stars, and would they look the same shine, the same brightness? Or has the soul of the man created the eye to see at the strength of itself, that it sees the same time, the same thing? As we say, the earth has a soul, the sun has a soul. Do we see the earth with the eye of physicality of us? And when we get to know our soul, would we see the soul of the earth, because we work in the soul dimension? And would it be any different between that and the physicality observation light? And then, as Mark said earlier on, that there is a party. And how come the souls are returning back?
Are we one?
Are we part of the one? What happened when now you're getting educated and then you see through your soul? Would you look into the sky and see the soul of the planets? Or you look up into the sky, and when you see the soul, says, oh, that the star is the soul of my mom, she's there. And that soul is my dad, is there, even though they died 20 years or 50 years ago. Your soul knows their position, what they become. But your physicality is blind to the dimension of the soul side. And maybe that's why how you communicate with mom, she's a star, creating more life out of her in the universe, while you're still stuck here in the dimension of soul, in the dimension of physicality, to mature to the point to see the mother in that direction, if need be, without the physicality. A bigger dilemma.
Is the fact that both of us can see each other due to that we have a common love for the Creator?
I think you missed the point. you receive from that you can see as the light, and you give at the higher order that is received as you become stronger than the light you received. But when you look into the sky and see millions of stars, how much are you receiving from each one? How much are you giving to each one? That as you can see them, they can see you. They become aware of your existence. Or usually do we see the stars totally different once we go beyond the solar system? As the light of these stars hitting on the what we call upper layers of our solar system have created that dome in Madame Tussauds. We are seeing the light on the dome, not the actual star, the way and the position they are. We have never managed up to today leave this solar system. And the life is very different beyond this shell. Very, very different. And if you, Rolls-Royce has brought a beautiful technology that, especially in their system, the new range of ghosts and phantoms, that when you sit in the car, you can change the lighting system of the roof of the car in layers into shining stars. And you literally see this, you can design it in a way that you can see the solar system, or what we call the galaxies or whatever. Is what we call look into the universe type thing. And when you flatten the chair and you look up into the ceiling of the new Rolls-Royces, you see this, you can imagine whatever you like, you literally see the skies. And gives you a lot of understanding in how to position yourself in respect to a lot of things.
Yeah, it's called Skylight.
Yes, it's. I presume you've seen it. It's a beautiful reflection, especially when you put your seat flat and you look up and you park it in a dark place. Then you see a beautiful sky. It's literally being part of the universe. And what happened when we cross the solar system? The skies to man will be totally different.
That means I am everything. I'm looking myself.
I don't know. Does the yolk see itself everything when it's inside the yolk, inside the egg?
Can I ask you something, Mr. Cash?
Why do you ask me? Ask yourself. You might hear yourself back.
Yeah. This universe was created by someone who lived in another universe and gathered energy in order to become a sun and start another process of creation. Is it right?
Does it sound right to you?
Yeah.
Mr. Kesh, thank you very much for your answer, because I couldn't open my micro to thank to you. And I would like to ask another question related with our number of neuron and the number of stars. Scientific people said that the number is the same. And how
So
come?
you ask them, I don't know. I don't know about neurons and the stars.
No, I study this. I have seen some videos with conferences of psychiatrists, and they said that we are like the universe, and neuron are like stars, all these synapses of neurons. And the conclusion was that maybe it is our imagination. Our soul creates this image, the soul of man from our head, inside the head. They don't know about the soul of man, of course. They said brain. I don't know. It's just an idea. Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Hello, Mr. Cash. Good evening. This is Jefferson Rodriguez from Brazil. May I ask you a question about the fire flame that was used? I think you taught us and teaching about the ancient people used the fire flame, not only to illuminate, but to contact and to interact with the universal plasmas or universal energy throughout these flames. And the question is, sometimes when I light up a candle, I think we can receive and we can communicate throughout this plasma, because the fire, I think it's a plasma. But the universal community communicate with us throughout this fire plasma, because they talk a lot. They sometimes dance. I don't know if it is the same as the 1,000 years ago, because the fire flame and the fire, I think, creates the nano coating and the inner core of our planet as a high temperature in the volcanoes. And I'd like to know if is there a possibility or to communicate with the universal community throughout the flame, as it used to do thousands of years ago. Thank you. Always thank you, Mr. Cash. It's just a consideration to wonder. Thank you.
Or just after 1 a.m. in Europe. You can certainly spin heads with your knowledge, Mr. Kesh. I mean, in a good way, causing us to think and reflect and think more. Very powerful.
Well, Mark, did you ever think that DNA Day would turn into such a fun event? I want to thank you and all the knowledge seekers who made this North American team international meeting a success. And thank you, Mr. Kesh, again, for all the work that you do. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Jim, because you have at least 3 lessons more.
Hello, Dan? Your mic is open. Mr. Kesh, I'll leave you with the last word. I think you've had it already, but if you'd like to add anything else.
Not really. I think a lot of people have given up. They're all gone to bed to a working day. I see most of the Europeans dropping off.
Yes, it's late there. But
It's 1
wow.
o'clock, and some of us in Western Eastern Europe is about 2 o'clock.
Very good. Another beautiful creation by knowledge seekers. So thank everyone for being here. Mr. Kesh, beautiful. And
Very much for having us.
yes. It's just amazing the amount of knowledge we're lacking or understanding, but we'll get there. And we are getting there little by little as the child is growing. We're starting to crawl and walk and stand up a little bit more every week and every time we seem to get together. And it's the collectiveness of all of us, as we're saying. And we're so proud to have you as a universal messenger with us and guiding us and opening up new dimensions of knowledge and understanding. It seems almost every time you speak. And I know it's endless. So thank you very much for your presence on this planet.
Thank you very much for organizing these kind of meetings. We try to change things slightly as I return back to Iran very shortly. We change the dimension of teaching in a very large way, in an extensively large way, to open the knowledge not to a few, but to the spectrum of full understanding. And we see how it will take shape in a different way. The future for the foundation as a global organization is set, and gradually we'll see the expansion and extension. And as I said, we lead by example in changing and bringing everything in order, which is very nice. It'll be very nice to see how the new developments in Iran and China will bring new developments in what we call a structure around the world. We have achieved partially what we wanted in Vienna talks, but not the way we wanted it, but we go back onto the way we laid out our structure of the peace, and we'll see what comes out of it. It's a beautiful time.
And I want to thank the universal community. We don't acknowledge them enough. We know they're here, they're present, and they're all part of this. So we want to thank you. I'm sure you're hearing us. I'll play the message to humanity and then the final disclaimer, and we'll end the meeting. Thank you all for attending as another beautiful creation, and it'll be in the Telegram within an hour, hour and a half or so. Thank you all.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.